Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever on the at the wall. This is now Mohammed Shillon coming to you now from the USA, state of North Carolina. My co-host, Mr. Victor Mengot, will be talking to you guys from England, county of Surrey County, and he will introduce himself and say what we normally do. He can do the self-introduction. And today, October 8th, Sunday, October 8th, 2023. And we get a few topics that we would like to discuss and bring up when our current event or event trending in Sierra Leone. So, as we always say, we just don't want to be focused on the party issue, APC, SLPP, APC, SLPP. We know say that can generate more emotions and people will get a lot of calls. But we focus is coming up with ideas, both by we, the host, and contributors of callers who call in and come up with proposals or suggestions or even disagreements. So, so today's topic is going to be something to the effect of transportation development in the country, specifically with respect to railroad development and development of the Marampa Railroad being proposed as both a corridor for transporting apparently the minerals, iron ore, within the normally mined from that area there to the port of Pepel. And then there is talk about wanting to extend it or expand them to involve passengers or as a passenger carrier. So we'll go delve into that and just try to see. We could try to dive into that and try to see which are the ramifications. So we know say me co-host is an expert in transportation generally, or particularly in automobile transportation or motor vehicle transportation, but is very vast in air transportation as well as railroad because his knowledge comes from experience. Our experiences derive from having worked at the Sierra Leone aviation, and then, of course, over a period of time in presence in England, working for various government agencies. So he's a man worth listening to. So with that said, let me just add one more thing with respect to the callers, where the numbers to call, because we try to make them a regular thing so people will know where to call and when to call. If you're calling from North America, only 3 countries from within you can make a toll-free call: Mexico, Canada, the United States. Anywhere you are, you can call toll-free when at 866-944-7722. 866-944-7722. If you are within any of these 3 countries, you can call for some toll-free. It will cost you nothing. If you are not within these 3 countries, if you try for call, it may cost you if you do not call on the WhatsApp number, which is 1-343-997-5828. 1-343-997-5828. Also, if you're calling from England, then get a local number so you don't have to call on WhatsApp necessarily. You can call on plus 44 20 80 89 1455. Plus 44 20 80 89 1455. Likewise, if you're calling from Australia, there's availability of a local number, where you will call without resorting to using WhatsApp. But WhatsApp is still optional. And so if you're calling from Australia, it will be plus 61 2909 84 337. 2909 plus 61 2909 84 337. Sorry. And so those are the numbers you could try for Richway. If we also get an existing radio station, if you're in the Freetown area, particularly in the eastern part of Freetown, you can tune 91.9 FM, and you may be able to get another area there because we are on 91.9 FM. If you're the eastern part of Freetown, not the western area now of Freetown, okay? So that said, make a pass on over to my co-host, Mr. Victor Mengot. Back to you, Mr. Mengot.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Shillon. Fambulem, good evening if you are in the UK. Good afternoon if you are in America and Central Coast. I don't know whose hour in a day na Australia. As usual, me na the co-host for this program on media review. I the broadcast from Surrey County in the southeast of England. This week, we get a lot of issues that we don't deal with transportation. But one of the key things that we want to talk about now rail transportation. And Sierra Leone is one country we're lucky. When I say lucky, we are one of the first country them for get railway. Now waiting have been the British colonial West Africa. We have been Sierra Leone, Nigeria, Ghana then known as the Gold Coast, Gambia, Banjul. So rail system has been central to economic development in Sierra Leone. So for put that in perspective, for develop rail system, not a thing where you just do overnight. So we've been doing some small research. This now waiting and tell me how the railway system developed in Sierra Leone. Because it started in 1896. So if you take 1896 to 1996, then a 100 year. So over 100 years ago, now we get the first railway. And that railway there, then build on the first section of the railway where they open. Now like from Freetown to Wellington, when I've been 7 miles. Then they then do them up in 1897. Now they open them. Then 1 year after, they extend them to Waterloo. Then to Songo, when at 32 miles. That's 1899. Then from Songo, it go Rotifunk. When another 56 miles. Then from Rotifunk, it go Bo. Then from Bo to Bama, and then Pendembo. So you see where they build railway. Now by section, they build them. And the tell where they do their railway then they, principally, now for access the agricultural areas then. So there was a purpose for the railway. At the time, it was used to transport agricultural products for export. So that's the basis of the railway. So but we know say the last railway run in 1974, and then closed them. But apart from that, there was another railway system in Freetown, right? And that one in a Freetown, now be a short railway system where now from Freetown to Hill Station, then I've been just 5.5 miles. We then for just take them with man the way in the rule we, right? From Dongtong, take go Hill Station where them in tap. In fact, some of who were the Freetown, that road was known as Old Railway Line. we come up from Tengbe Town, Lodge, take up Signal Hill. Now, there the railway in the past. So that is the history of the railway. So since 1974, we closed the railway. There has been very, beaucoup people do not talk why we closed the railway. Number one, the rail system we get the gauge been very small, have been 2'6". And also at that time, na coal, now them in the use. We not be even get diesel safe. Now coal them in the do, and then coal them they will be get for important. You know? And you remember, we been get one single they sing that wrong. That train one go, you know, angry for do. Driver, do your pull and petty fire. So now they call them and they put them in the fire. So then they been the cause problem as well. So now, almost 50 years after one, we want for revive the railway. And for revive that railway day, not of the only railway we get in a salon now, now the one na Marampa mines. We down there now from the mines to Pepel. So that 10 day, when that railway they been come for the Marampa mines, we been get loan from China Exim Bank, right? And it been cost 1.2 billion when I been build, operate and transfer. So after 2020, it become government owned. So government now listen to Kingo Mining when I been on take up the mines. So now the railway system will get. So now we want to talk about the government in plan for extend that railway day to Tonkolili, Bombali. So that if I link the northern part, Tonkolili, Bombali, and Putloko. So in other words, you link the northwest region and the western region. So this is not the background. But I think say for let we talk about more how important the railway been at the economy of Sierra Leone. Now passing on to my co-hosts. We not only understand because Papa been there and the produce business where the railway be important, but instead we don't ride at the railway. So let's give you some kind like back in time of how important the railway been come before we can talk now about waiting at the government they own plan now for extend the railway and how it go benefit to economy. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mengot. If I let me just touch briefly on the first part, the railroad from St. John all the way to Hill Station. We precede this railroad where we abolished in 1974 under the Stephen regime, or if we've not used the word regime, government. Okay. During the time when we underdid and a small picking teenagers them, there was a rail system if you were in the western area, like how Mr. Mengot mentioned just a minute ago, that the Waitman will be the railway. They found that living up the mountains or the hill area them, Signal Hill, Mount Oriel, then place then Regent, then Cluster, Leicester area they were much cooler than get climate that were just almost reminiscent of the temperature we didn't get back home. So their area then have been better livable area for them. So then develop a train system. When I be the means of transportation, we pass through Tembe to Brookfields, like Mr. Mengot said, go through Tembe Town, go all the way up Wilberforce, Signal Hill. Okay, so in today's world, that means of transportation is since that be within just a limited area within the city. Today we will call them subway in England, and we call them the tube. But of course, the activities of the tube or the subways in are far more extensive than waiting then. But for just show how far Sierra Leone has come and how developed we were once upon a time. We did have trains, where it be technically like a city transportation, where in today's terms we could call subway or the tube, where we take people in from point A to point B, you know. So that train they be the start from St. John, they go through Brickfields, they go through Tengbe Town, they go all the way up to Wilberforce. Then they come before the other train when we start Mengo to Refato. We start from Freetown going east, because this precede the first train that be from St. John, the western area of Freetown, going west up in the mountains. But this other one, where the Witchman then subsequently introduced in 1896, then the railroad will start from Freetown for go up. By then they refer to in that direction to the protectorate. So again, at the chronology, the step-by-step development of the railroad going in that direction there. And that railroad, they go all the way. At the end of it all, it extended to 240 miles and ended up in Pendembu, Kailahun district. So Pendembu was a major station and a major outpost for business of all types. People that the railroad allowed people them in the western area, including me and papa and my grandpa. I had grand uncle will be there Pendembo also. My papa and your uncle and your papa and brother who were doing business, who left Freetown, come all the way in Kailahun district, establish there and start business, then get stores, then they buy produce, then they sell produce, wholesale, then they buy in retail, then they sell on wholesale. And then as a result of that, the sad part or the good part about it is there are a lot of who know say a place like Penembo in the Kailahun district had banks. They had the Cooperative Bank, they have Bank of West Africa. Then they also had all kinds of Western businesses. At those times, they refer to them as firms. You get PZ, you get Agenet, you get SUA, you get GBO, you get I think you get GBO. Well, you get a lot of them. To just name a few. Let me put another way there. You know, I can remember that in your mind, we beget what you call CFAO. That be a French company, or that be something like Compagnie Française African something, CFAO. So you beget all them big farms them. And these farms, the head offices were in Freetown, but they had sub offices in Pendembu, let me say in Kailahun district. Pendembu was important because that's where the train ended. Even though Pendembu was not the headquarter, Kailahun town was the headquarter, but Pendembu was the most significant for many reasons, particularly with respect to the business activities. And Kailahun district has always been a very interesting district in the sense that the headquarter, which is Kailahun town itself, which is named either after the district or the district named after I don't know which one come first. Then get Pendembu, but there were two towns in Kailahun district will be the outshine the headquarter. Because the headquarter was not particularly, Kailahun town was not particularly known for being a business post. So it was just the headquarter. For whatever reason, it was made the headquarter. But Kailahun was not as vibrant business-wise as Pendembu was, and another town called Kwendu, which is on the border of Liberia, Guinea, and Sierra Leone, which stretched further east from Kailahun town, which was about like 30 miles from Kailahun town. Kwendu was extremely popular because it was a border post. So businesses were great. We also had activities, but we're not going to buy produce in Pendembu. We established a shop we would be the trade, we would sell all kind of items from radios to all kinds of things. And then we get what you could call a mini or quasi in English term, but in America we say quasi motel. We'll get certain rooms where we preserve for people and where they come from Liberia and Guinea. They can rent from we for spend the nights where they come for do business. And there was a lot of exchanges. People coming from Freetown all the way to Kwendu, and then from Monrovia all the way to Kwendu, from Conakry all the way to Kwendu. So Kwendu was like the Dubai in those days, way back then. So that's what made Sierra Leone very popular to these people. And there were a lot of products people were getting from the borders. So since Liberia had connections with America, then we were more exposed to British goods. You get a lot of American goods coming into Sierra Leone through that part of the country, from the east all the way back to Freetown area. So then the railroad also did a lot of, because the roads were not that great. And the automobile or the motor roads were not that great. And it took a long time for in the early years for left, say a place like Penembo. And let me also emphasize, even though we talk about Penembo, but all the areas them, like Kalang district, were great in the production of produce. Produce meaning, because produce can entail a lot of things, but the basic produces were coffee, cacao, and palm kernel. Those three, because produce also could involve tomatoes, other orange and anything in it, which they were good for. But the main exporting items were coffee, cacao, and palm kernel. What would be the export? As a matter of fact, Kalang was so high in productivity of their items in there that there were drivers who specialized in just smuggling some of them in there across the border into Liberia, because the Liberians were buying, but now illegally, but they were doing that. So the roads were not that great, and they produced large quantity, large tonnages of coffee and cacao and palm kernel. So for transport them from Kalau district, which is almost one end of the country, to where you had the Sierra Leone Produce Marketing Board that was popularly known as the SLPMB, which was the sole agent for export then with goods then there. It was sometimes the lorry then would take 2 days on the way, just a 200 and some mile journey. It would take 2 days before the lorry then reach, and sometimes they can get accidents, because the roads were not paved, they were not tarred. So what can happen? There is a lot of slippery roads, but you can go off course. So the railroad was very, very, very useful in that respect. So a lot of them produce here were shipped to Freetown by rail. Of course, they never abandoned using what you would call lorries. Now, when America would say trucks. There were truck transportation also. But the railroad was very useful. And the railroad also can move large, much, much, much larger, maybe 20 times more amount of produce in one move than, say, a lorry would take. So the railroad played a very important role there. The other role where the railroad played, from Freetown, and Bo was a major stop, but there were many other stops, Mano, Moyamba, Tayama, them places in there. But there were many other places where the railroad, as there were farmers in the south. So all them produce, and the people that they have the population where they plant, like orange, like banana, like plantains, and many other kind of products there, where people back in those areas in Moyamba district, in Kalang district, and then the towns that will go along them places in the Bo district, Kenema district, were involved towns like Hanga. People were basically just farming different kind of produce. So the railroad make it easy because them produce be the poil because you not get the population will go buy them enough, and I mean they produce them in large quantities. So the railroad may also help people and for be able for left Freetown, come up country, buy plantains, buy bananas, buy oranges, and many other things. When the ship go Freetown, that way the country Freetown area, but they get plenty of orange, plenty of plantain, plenty of banana, plenty of everything. And then the people in the district, the Kenema district, Kalam district, Bo district, Moyamba district, they were able for earn money from them crops them. Wouldn't be able for the sheep, potato, sweet potatoes and thing in there. So that railroad, they play a very important role in the economy of Sierra Leone. So as Mr. Mengot say, he talk about the gauge. The gauge now be the size of the rail with the rail track. So compared to the one who be in Amarampa, it was smaller, but it was doing the job, and it also transport besides goods, what we go call merchandise or merchandises. It also transported people. When I went to school in Bo, and remember, ladies and gentlemen, I went to this extraordinarily very important, one of the best schools in the country, Ahmadiyya Secondary School, in the 60s. I rode the train from Penembu to Bo, and then when holiday came, from Bo back to Penembu. So the train played a very vital interest, and a lot of people that's how people travel. People who are living in Freetown, coming up country, and even for people who are in Freetown coming to school, like to Bo School or UCC or CKC, in the early years, the railroad was very important because the roads were very treacherous. And I talk about the young guys then, like the current president who went to Bo School, then things that way developed. I think the president probably was even, when they abolished the railroad, he probably was about the current president of Sierra Leone was probably about 3-4 years old. So he may not even have much knowledge of the role the railroad play. And I don't mean this disrespectfully. I just try to give perspective, And so if you were coming from the west towards the east to go to school, to do business, if you come as far as Kenema or Kailau, the railroad was the main means of transportation, and was the safest means of transportation, and was the cheapest means of transportation, because most of the road transportation then were 100% privately owned. The railroad was government subsidized, so it wasn't as expensive as private transportation. So people travel by rail quite a bit. And but for whatever reason, and the evidence is weak, if any, that the railroad wasn't serviceable both to the people of the country and the economy of the country. But the Stevens government decided to abolish the railroad, which was devastating to some of the companies like the farms that I mentioned, the PZ, the USC, the GBOs, the SEOAs, because that also lead to part of the decision when companies and they eventually left the country because they were very much into the business. And these companies were major employers. They were major employers of people, and people had career in them. They had jobs for life. The railroad was supposed to be a government entity, so people, and the railroad was the biggest employer, I believe, other than the government itself, but the biggest government entity, because it had people hired permanently from Freetown to Bo, to Kenema, to Penembu, who were residents and were being transferred because and the railroad had two compartments, so to speak. They had the locomotive section, and these were people who actually operated the train engines or the locomotives. Then then you get the other section will be then in the administrative aspect of the railroad, and that group then be then you get for buy tickets, and then get for keep up with the prompt running of of train, and for keep the operation going. So a lot of people had worked in the railroad for quite a long time, where APC or President Stevens just decide for abolition for whatever reason. But to this day, since the abolition of the railroad, we have not recovered from the economic setback where that railroad day was abolished for whatever reason. So now with the Yeri again, then there is one other railroad, one of the Marampa Railroad. The Marampa Railroad now be the railroad established by the mining company will be the mine iron ore. We then be the transport down there to the port of the Pepel area for ship them abroad. So they established a short railroad. But that didn't be just for the iron ore. But now it appears as if with current government they begin to talk about expanding that old railroad. They would go through one or two ownership, was privately owned. Then the lease ran out. Then now was one company with the user, Mr. Mengot, will know more about the sequence of usage. And then now we're talking about expanding that Marampa Railroad Day from Port Loko district. I don't know how it will go to Bombali, but then come down to Tonkolili, So then the talk say they want to use a turner into a passenger type of railroad as well. So it could transport both goods and people. Well, so that remains to be seen, but we just want to elaborate on that and for let people let we understand what has the government taken into account and what the government has not taken into account in trying to come up with this idea about expanding the Marampa rail line. When they're not they talk about the major railroad, which was abolished in 1974, from Freetown to Kailao up to Penembu. That's not what the current government is talking about. They are talking about expanding the Marampa rail line that was never used that was only used for one agricultural product, or that was just for the exporting of iron ore, just a single mineral. So we will also like to get some clarification and bring up some discussion and move on. And I say agricultural product, mining product, when I be the iron ore. So that said, I hope I not confuse people, and I hope I try for just give people a rough perspective of what the history of and the role of railroad in Sierra Leone. Disappointingly to someone like me who grew up with the railroad, and surprisingly to a lot of people who are now within the power structure in Sierra Leone, who may have never even seen the railroad, of course were not beneficiaries of the railroad, but some of whom maybe their parents were able to sell them goods and transport them goods, of which their educations were sponsored or financed by the railroad. Unfortunately, some people will not know all these things. So that said, let me go back to Mr. Mengot. And let me pass it over to you, Mr. Mengot, and just let me see if you can be able to elaborate on that some more.
Okay. I hope so everybody they listen to me, and Mr. Shilon they hearing me loud and clear.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make one or two corrections from what you say at the time. Because when we talk about rail transport, because you mentioned something like the tube or tunnel, we have three different forms of rail when you talk about transportation. What you call the tube in England, or I don't think in a color, I don't know how in a color in America, yeah? That na underground rail.
We call them subway.
Subway, that na underground rail, where mostly na urban is different from wetin we get na saloon. They get wetin we call heavy rail, wey na that version they we get na saloon. They get light rail. Light rail mostly na city system wey down there at times they run part of it on the road. Even if you take the railway system we been get safe na saloon, na Freetown by Frobe Road, around outside the rail been they pass for Kandong to Central Freetown by outside Bishop Johnson's school day. The rail system been they run parallel to the road, Frobe Road. So now that railway system they park Kandong Frobe Road pass by Dovecourt. So in talking about the rail system, we not forget about Dovecourt, which will be a very good place and station for railway. So the railway not only been a look for serve the exports of agricultural goods, but also it been a bring goods that come down for consumption at Freetown and make so Dovecourt market don't become so important. Even without the rail now they people and they go buy wholesale for sale na the other market there. So that was the legacy. But from your analysis what you do, and in other countries, what came out of this whole thing is that rail system, if you want to develop them, you have to look at three things, three aspects. One, the movement pattern of people then, who side they want to come out and who side they want to go. Two, you have to look at whose industry them it is support, mostly in your own case, the mining industry, but then you also talk about agro-based industry, right? The third thing, you look at how it connects different regions. But before I continue, somebody make a comment. The train system of transportation is really important for us. I tell you, today, Shaka Stevens' decision in those days about our economy are what are affecting our economy downfall today. Yes, the railway don't close since 1974. We know the effect. Some towns then become a ghost town. Important towns that where people not be know, towns like Bawia, Blama, they were very important towns. So we have a look at developing railway in terms of the economy, and also railway now a transport system with a link with other forms of transportation. In our own case, the way we develop the railway now from land to the seaport, whether turning the main port now been Pepel, right? But then when we look at the old railway system, the tower been developed, the port of Pepel, we also been a look at export from the port of Freetown, because if we look at the map of the railway, it is like a Y. It starts from Freetown, then the main part of it now be Moyamba Junction, where from Moyamba Junction, you get one branch where they go north, they go up Cambia, where later on it was extended to Makeni. Then you get one where they come out from that Moyamba Junction going south up to Pendembu. With the old railway system again, where the missing link, now for link that northern part, when I be that Cambia axis up to Makeni, down to the Pendembu area. So it look like say you get like a circuitous system. Even now, minus the railway, people the way they go corner, they find it easier for go northwards and then come down south to eastern part. People then will correct me if I'm wrong, but they tell me say one of the most easiest way for going to the east, now for go through north and then down to the east. So that was how the system was developed. But now look at waiting at the government and proposal. Yes, indeed, the railway na Marampa, na loan we been get from China Exim Bank about $1.2 billion for develop the railway and the port of Pepel. That are mostly for service the iron ore industry. So it was what we call a build, operate, and transfer. So after 20 years, we don't pay down for them. That railway there and the port, it become government owned. So government now listen to Kingo Mining, when a Chinese company, when they mine the iron ore in that Lonsar Marampa area. So in January this year, we already say government stop that lease agreement there with Kingo Mining because they may negotiate with another international company called Arise IIP, as they call them, an industrial company, where they operate in a place like Gabon and Benin. If you remember, sometime in the president been go Gabon some time ago, where he go look at the industrial zone. So just before the election, they may establish this special industrial zone na the Koya district, where they say it could be something where they bring jobs come and also a lot of industry. But as the white man can say, the devil is in the detail. So what you want to talk about now is, if we want to start from this Marampa thing, first of all, there's going to be some kind of resistance from Kingo Mining, because if you transfer a major part of the production, which is the railway and the port, to another company, Arise IIP, then it means you are now looking at a three-way arrangement between Arise, the government, and Kingo Mining. I don't know how government don't think of, but it raised two issues I will discuss now. One, now how government, not this government, we will not blame this government, it is not unique to them. Now, how will they bring in the investors here, sign agreements with them, approve them? There is a process and there is a way for doing that thing here. It happened in the last government. I can tell you one, in transportation, we know about the toll road, how then they come about. And again, that the Chinese are involved. If we look at the constitution, what it say, for approve some of them kind, what we will call foreign direct investment, right? It get for go through parliament, and the parliamentarians then get for review them with all the documents them, and give government the go ahead before they go sign the contract. But successive governments them, then they do on the reverse. Then can not go sign the agreement, then they bring them to parliament for rubber stamp them. So when draw can now, we get a lot of problem. So let's start with Andy first before I go now. Not to the negative, but the positive. If we want to look at for use the Marampa mines and railway as a means for expand the railway system, my own experience as a transport man and an urban planner and development, what I would suggest. So before I go there, let I call me co-host, let Rob Motspan, this issue of the legal implication of how will they approve investment loans them in the interest of the country and the interest of transparency. So what you go rob much pan that,
All
Mr.
right.
Shillon, Lawyer Shillon.
Thank you, Mr. Mengot. Again, I'll just do a little back and forth on the railroad issue, just briefly. Then I will go back. I will go to this uh, issue of contract agreement. Now, I think you refer to railroads as heavy rail, urban or light rail. Now, I will describe the railroad will precede the railroad Australian from Freetown to Penembo. The one will be from Freetown, the St. John area, to Hill Station to Wilberforce. That is, I think you're right. That's what we'll refer to as urban railroad in today's language, or light rail. It was light rail. Now, I make I say, now like what we call a subway. I probably refer to the tube, but generally speaking, I know say it may have a different name, but now the light rail system overall, like how you say. So the earlier or the first railroad now be a urban light railroad will be to take the Europeans them from Freetown or from the city all the way up to the hills. I would describe. Then the heavy rail, indeed, the railroad where you describe where we go by, all run parallel with Frobe Road, way passed by PCMH, the hospital, by the old grammar school, go through Dovecourt, all the way, ended up now Oxford, now Water Street. Because Water Street now be the final destination within the city. Now they the train be the stop. Then people then can come from any other part, join the train for go up country. And to some extent, people who were coming from Songo, then prison, they ride the train too for can school. If you did grammar school, you didn't part the day, or if you can come out Songo, then prison, they can school in Freetown and go back. So I don't think we're getting a disagreement. I think probably my own description or of them may not sound the usual thing. But the Freetown Railroad that went east all the way to Penembo clearly was what we want to refer to as heavy railroad, because it carried goods and all types of goods. It carries automobiles, then the ship motor car through the railroad. It carried produce, it carried people. So that was indeed heavy railroad. Whereas the one at the urban area will be to go up to Hill Station, now be just light rail for just take people to and from their daily lives. So I would just want to make that clarification. So I don't think we'll get a disagreement, and just a matter of how we call them, since the country does change. But going back to the constitutional aspect, well, this is what we always complain about, or people like me will complain about. When we talk about the rule of law, I think generally speaking, with comprehension or we own idea of the rule of law, we believe say only applicable to the poor man, to the man at the street. When we talk about the rule of law, I think we talk in terms of compliance with everyday ordinance, like traffic ordinance. When we talk about the rule of law, I think we talk in terms of crime. I think I wouldn't general concept down there for say, well, the rule of law not apply to me now only for people who commit crime, But we now take into account the fact that Parliament, now the number one breaker of laws in the country. They not even seem to give full faith and credit or meaning or respect to the rule of law. Because if it is, when the Constitution dictates a certain process as to how international agreement should be signed on behalf of on the part of the government, on behalf of the country, why would, without approval by the court or without any proper process approved by the very parliament itself, then go reverse the procedural way of doing things. If Parliament has to agree. It has to be brought to Parliament first before the agreement is signed. Why does Parliament take upon itself for the agreement to be signed first and then brought to Parliament to be confirmed? Or, it is beyond me. And the other part of it is because we talk about, again, this is another misnomer where they take place in the country. Or we then talk about civil societies. I think the civil societies then say things, say, then kind of about irregularities here, where Parliament they take them unlawful steps here. Because when Parliament allows an agreement that had been signed to be brought before it for ratification, when at the reverse, it should have been the other way around. And Parliament should not even be a party to that. The civil society people don't say anything because they don't see that as breaking the law. I mean, I don't think it even occurred to them. I think people just apply this civil society issue strictly to civil and human rights sometimes. But we try to say, if we talk about the country of laws, we talk about the rule of law, the people in workforce start for sure the example of that, now the executive and the legislature. The legislature is common practice in Sierra Leone, then they pass a lot of illegal laws. And people then go say, Parliament go pass illegal laws. Well, I have told people over and over at this show, Parliament is not supreme. The Constitution is supreme. Laws passed by Parliament has to be within the framework of the Constitution. Parliament not get absolute right for just pass any kind of law with them feel. Parliament not get the right for just adopt any kind of procedure where contrary to the specifications or the dictates of the Constitution. But we just take everything for granted. And there is not too many challenges that are being mounted by the so-called civil societies or even by the Bar Association, which a lot of the illegalities with Parliament itself is engaged in. Now, the practice in Sierra Leone is that we really believe, say, Parliament has the right to be lawless. And Parliament engages in lawlessness in many ways. In terms of then thing when in the broke or pass then laws, then we get electoral problem that we had because of the bad laws that we then pass where people are not challenging court. Now, whether the court get the backbone for deciding cases in day, sometimes that may not be favorable to the existing government is a different story. But the procedure that's what the judiciary is for. And that is when Parliament overstep them bounds, there's the court that should call them to attention and say, go back, or we're going to nullify the law. As a matter of fact, we're going to nullify that law they want to pass because it violates the Constitution. So we get some serious business that we earn because now we believe, say, Parliament get absolute authority. Then can pass any kind of law. No, they can't. If Parliament can do that, we don't need a Constitution. Or what is the Constitution for? If Parliament then just free for just passing a kind of law with them and for pass. And the executive is doing the same thing. Now, Sierra Leone today, the executive, then does the adopt procedures are a best example I can cite. You take, for example, when the Auditor General was sacked and the assistant. I think the law now give the president the power for sack the Auditor General, but he did. And no challenge, if there has been any challenge mounted, we haven't seen any activity on the part of the judiciary for solve that problem there very quickly for try to define the limit or the limitation on the power of the president or the executive. Now, let me just pause here for say, I should have announced a few minutes ago or earlier that the lines are open from the time where we start. So if anybody get any view, and get any suggestion, feel free to call. The lines are open. And so please, as usual, In the future, if I fail to mention that, just assume the lines are open and you can call at any time. So let me go to a caller. A caller. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where say you call from?
Good evening, Mr. Shilon, Mr. Mengot. This is Fodi
Good
Mustafa
evening,
from Leicester.
Mr. Mustafa. Thanks for calling.
1 minute, I just been round up something. Anyway, so this is what I talk about. I don't know why it's people now. First of all, 1 minute, let me put up the set here. 1 minute. So
Let
this
me interrupt you. Let's
this
classify what is this thing we will talk about. Without talk about railroad, we will talk about
no,
international.
not the railway, not the railway.
Okay, okay, okay. Go ahead.
I don't know why it's people now. Where Mr. Mengot say they're not involved. The Kingo. Kingo is involved in this. Kingo is involved because the whole process here, not to say then they can't do anything. We will not talk about saying expansion, not to expansion. Now just the existing rail, which had they pass the iron ore from
Yeah.
Tonkolili, where the railway passed through some part of Bombali. Because say if you want to go Pepel, the direction of Pepel, you must pass through some part of Bombali and then you go na Putloko. This na the deal. So now I make them count those seven coaches for can run transport there. But this time we dey talk about investment. Somebody get money when arise. He see an opportunity for make money. Now I make he go buy those things. He can't talk to people. See, okay, I can put some rail inside this this track so that people can use their layer for do that for traveling. That's it. What happened here. If these people were serious, then for don't pass this rail, say this rail for go pass outside now the city them. Because as Mr. Shilon they talk, the rail what we learn in the history what we see now for people them and goods. Now I make them pass through most of the big town them that time they so that people and they come the one who they produce their goods and bring them to the major cities and then they transport them to the other cities and particularly to Freetown. If you can't make a rail where they go end up Pepel, where not go even our Talo, tell me which kind of business are they? You see what we talk about, say we governments are not serious. How they make a rail say they can't do rail business, if they take from Tonkolili, that place inside in Bumbu Nayanda, where they take the rail, the iron ore, it goes straight, it go Pepel. Now Pepel it go end. Now the terminal. So now the thing is, and Kingo is involved in this. From last year we kind of not talk. Unfortunately, what we read in our history, now me could check for the check history there. Then tell we say they may close the railway because of road transport more efficient. Meanwhile, because abroad now say hey, they may tell me in our history say because of road transport. But as I can't see train, I was surprised. So you see the thing, the people who write history, then they write history where it benefit the way now, what they want to tell people them. Now the government realize say for do business, if they realize that now they own opportunity this for making them put money, even when they talk still about how do they call that thing the bridge. Why if you go put money on bridge where less than 5% of the population they access, then you go put 2 billion plus investment into that. Why not they use that 2 billion, 90% or more or 100% of the people and benefit? They could be like rail transport. This I can't understand how they want follow we go before. Anyway, I get for call back. Thank you
Now,
guys.
well, feel free. You can continue if you want.
Yes, okay. You see, I will always talk about investment. Me, I always talk about investment because now the invest where will government whose business will they prosper now the world without investment? Let's tell me back. If government can't do no more, they say 60% of the money we get, it go to salaries. 22% they go to debt servicing. Now much left? 18% now left for provide services. And nobody, the one we should have brought who they support government all. They are not seeing this. When they ask them and go talk, say, oh, now because they pay teacher and nurses and teachers have always been there. But then they're not triple the wage bill. What in triple the wage bill? Now, because of the appointment they make when a very expensive appointment, why don't you use this money like you put her into real business? You make a real, let me say for instance, you make a real where they pass Kenima, Bo, Freetown. You take another one, Maborka, McKinney, Putlock of Freetown. How you go help more than 60% of the people because the people in the work are through or then use other transport there, then come to those major cities, then take their goods, then go to Freetown. But no, they're not going to do them. Arise, they can't make use of an opportunity because the real they did, now and go back inside abroad. That's seven coaches, not a one train. Now one train they get 35 coaches. Now 7 coaches then go take for go pass from that Bumbuna area, take Pepel and Kingono about it. Let's happy first.
All right. Thank you very much. Let me give you a premature analysis before Mr. Mengo, who is more of an expert on this issue. In fact, let me also read there. Say there is someone who the writing is pretty small, but I will try to do the best I can. We, the young people of Sierra Leone, are only really praying for the government to succeed in bringing back this train transportation system, since most of us today only heard about train but never set our eyes on it. But I once heard from my father saying that because of the train system, they never experienced price rocketing as so many agricultural products were coming into big towns, I guess, from up country. Yes. All right. I just want to read that comment there, which is true. So the person who sent in the comment, whatever your father told you or tell you saying that's what was happening, because that's how the products were coming in. And as Mr. Mustafa just indicates, if part of the history is that road transportation was more efficient than rail transportation, that is an absolute untruth. The rail transportation was more efficient and carried much larger load than the train, than the road, the trucks were able to carry, because the roads were terrible. Like I indicated, from Penembo to Freetown, that was almost a 2-day journey. The roads were bad, particularly in the rainy season. There was a place around the western area coming up country where they call Orugu Hill. Motorcar, they get stuck now Orugu Hill for days. They're not even past themselves before for reach Songo or Moyamba. So that is just a rewrite of history, but it's just wrong. It's not true. As far as the coaches, I think Mr. Mengo also will talk about that. This is the thing. The signing of this agreement, where they try to get into, is it in the best interest of the country? Number one, is it in the best interest of the people in the area? Like Mr. Mustafa just mentioned. He may very well be from that area, so they may know it much better than some of us do. So is it in the best interest of the country for 7 coaches? In today's world, 7 coaches, even when I was in school, as a young man growing up, riding the train, from Freetown to Penembo, from Penembo to Bo, from Bo to Penembo, we had more than 7 coaches. So, and then what is the arrangement? And Mr. Mengot is going to talk about some of the details as to what the law requires with respect to when these laws are signed with international companies or foreign companies, where the records are to be found and kept in the event people want to see, watching at the detail of the arrangement. But let me go back to Mr. Mengot, and I'll pass it over to you, Mr. Mengot.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Shillon. And also I must thank Mr. Fode Mustafa from Leicester for throwing some light on it. and he talk about Kingo mining, say Kingo very much involved in this. So it makes something clear for me. So it means that the iron ore is being mined in Tonkolili district. So the rail line connects Tonkolili with the port of Pepel.
Yeah,
If that is the case, I'm very much happy that he has clarified that point. But the other two we'll get for look at. Now you talk about transfer of ownership. Because originally, from reports then which we need to corroborate, was that Kingo Mining been they pay government something like $1.2 million every year for use the railway and the port. That is subject to verification. So in other words, if you are now transferring the ownership, or let me say the management and operation of the rail, and you don't nullify the lease agreement, and you give them to Arise IIP, where they use an existing track, when a government get them, there's no problem with that. Government get the right for look at who ever idigi opportunity for managing assets. But we just hope say in cancelling the list from Kingo and transferring it to Arise, there is not other legal challenges to that. And the only way we can know, as you know, when we go sign the treaty here and the documents then go parliament, as long as only information which is commercially sensitive, nine they not go put there. Because when they lay the documents to parliament, if you go to the parliament website, then get a section where then treaties then where they sign the document for them treaties then for day. But I don't go search, I not see nothing about this whole one, which means they're putting people in the dark. The other thing which to clarify, as Mr. Mustafa said, if now you're moving management, which we call the track and the port facility, from the mining company to a third party, when we work, I did some work in review in rail access. It means that Kingo Mining get for now negotiate with Arise IIP for access to the rail network, which means they would have to charge them two things: access charge, yeah, and tell them when they for use the rail, although it's not frequent, and also use of the ports. But then, when they talk about railway, now passenger train them bring come, now passenger coach them bring. Now they're saying that passenger coach day, now for transfer passenger them from the Tonkolili area for Kandong to the northwest. And then they say now it could be useful for the workers them where they can work in this special industrial zone where they set in this Koya district. Number one, we need full details of the manufacturing the way they take place within this special industrial zone. So the things that way they manufacture there, if it's primarily for export, then fine, you're talking about volumes. But then we get to know the mix between, in that industrial zone, what factories are there or manufacturing plants are there for manufacturing goods for the local market and for the export market. Then also we get to look at the line, because when they develop the line, then the existing line, if na passenger train, unless you dey look and say no more, you dey only focus on one sector of the market, which is workers from the Lily Bombali area for car work in the industrial zone. But where are the stations? If you want to make is it a commuter service? Because if na a commuter service or a regular rail, passenger rail, you get for get stations then at the line. You also get for don't do a demand analysis, right? For actually know the trips the way people and they make. If there's enough trips them between Tonkolili, Bombali, and Putloko for justify having a passenger rail service. We see somebody they write again, he say, I think we have to consider the impact of the train transport rather than comparing what people doing to what? Criticize. As for this is a development in Sierra Leone. If train system makes our country industrious and transportation easier, our economy will be moving and we welcome that. Yes, fine. But then, if you want to do any transport system as a transport man, you get to look at demand. Why they do transport? Whether na road transport, na sea transport, na rail transport, you get to look at volume. And people them, how they travel from point A to point B. And wetin do people in travel? They go work, then they go on business, or they get what we call VFR, visiting friends and relatives. So we don't know whether they don't do a demand analysis for see the volume and frequency people movement from Tonkolili, Bombali to Putloko. Is it a commuter service? Is it a regular train network? These are the unknowns. Somebody also say, I personally think we should try and fix the road buses infrastructure and run a bus transportation than back in the days. Yes, I can tell you, say, we are definitely fixing the road transport and I'm involved in that. I will therefore do a special program on how we improve road transport in a saloon. But let's talk about this rail system now. Where we the talk say, from, is there frequent traveling between Tonkolili, Bombali, and Putloko? Also, if the train system where they bring, now for service the special industrial zone, right? How many people then where they work in that industrial zone, where they come on and then 2 districts and they? These are the unknowns. So we welcome using the rail system for passenger, but then get for do more analysis in terms of demand. That's my own comment. But now, all the same, if we want to use the existing railway, because apparently they are not going to build new tracks, I would suggest, like how they begin their railway system then at Salone, where as I've been on Guinea, they start first from Freetown, till then go Wellington, till then go Waterloo, till then go Songo. By the way, Songo, which is part of Korea district, and I think say confer a part of this special industrial zone. Now then have been the boundary between what will be known as the colony and the protectorate under Korea district. So in other words, Songo na major junction. So right, if I were to advise government, we get the existing rail. If one develop rail based on the existing system we'll get, I would look at one, with the talk about Lunge Bridge. I would look at taking that axis from that Pepel area coming down to the northwest, that Koya district, then I put local. Why not think about a rail link between Potloko and an extension to Lunge, we can serve the airport. In other words, even people that where they use the airport, we know they come Freetown, they can take that link there from the airport, right? Come up to the one they want to go Potloko, the one they want to go Cambia, the one they want to go Tonkolili, the one they want to go Bombali, using the existing rail. So you do an extension of the rail system down to the Lunge area, right? We go serve the airport as well. Then when you come up that junction, they link up to Songo, right? You can now do another axis from Songo up to Waterloo. So in other words, you can make easy link from the airport to Waterloo, and around the Waterloo area there, you get very good road network and bus transport where go take people them either using coming up to Jue, use that grafting road by road, or can straight na the Waterloo the Waterloo Highway, come up to Upgon Turntable, then connect now with the new Hillside Bypass. So if we develop the railway system, we get for look at how the railway network, the link with road. And also we also get for look at, because Pepel a major port, we get for look also where they develop the rail system, how it go link with coastal transport. So in other words, now waiting with transportation people then call intermodal and integrated system. So there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of things then for do in terms of transportation development, linking different modes of transport, and how we can bring back the railway. I'm very much for the railway coming, but why don't we look at southwards? Linking the Lunge area, which is a whole area where we can bring development. Go to that Songo junction there. When I did the special industrial zone there, and then link up to Waterloo, because that way you get people there now from 3 different areas for workforce: the Lunge area, the Freetown area, the Bombali, Tonkolili area, for provide workforce to the special industrial zone. So that is my suggestion. So Mr. Shillon, from what you say now on how we can start expanding the railway, then we can look later on when you do phase 2 now. You start from that Bombali using the old system, going up north, Tego link to the east, that will be the second phase. Then from the east now you mean south until you come back, Moyamba Junction, Songo. That would be my suggestion. And how do you pay for it? The mining company, we don't see even that Potloko region. We see recently when they say then company them, where they use that Potloko road, then they damage the road. You understand? So the mining company them, apart from giving us peanuts, now what we call planning gain and development gain in transport, they should contribute to infrastructure development. We're going to reduce their cost of transportation and also the damage of our environment. We also get for look as before with proper transportation system, rail and road, attract agro-based industry. We're going to produce a lot of things that we're going to use, even at the special industrial, where they add value to the goods them for export. So left fire, we'll get a caller on the line. Mr. Shillon, you give the prompt lawyer waiting this caller can say from what you had explained so far.
Okay, hello caller. What's your name? Who's that you call from?
Hello, yeah. Mr. Shilon. It's now the call from Maryland.
All right, Abdul, welcome.
Yeah, when I thank you for the program, I just want give me a submission. Perhaps I'll ask a question at the end. I just want to start with say Mr. Mengot to talk about the influx of the passenger, the traffic, the route where we get for pass. As you rightly say, the agreement between government and Arise is still murky because we don't know the details of the agreement. Whether then therefore extend, like how we just rightly the end say, we go and see an extension of the railway to the east and south, and to the north, northwest, and north, as far as perhaps kind of or Cambia border, because from what me understand and what I hear, say government may say the railway it will start from that Pepele, it will go right through the Guinea border. Perhaps I Cambia will stop. Now that me understand. But waiting we know even for get clear is are they going is Arise going to build more tracks, more of the tracks them for like the Guinea border or not the Sierra Leone government trying to do that. Then initially when they launched the project, the Arise project in Akuya, they talk say they want link come to the like how Mr. Mengo rightly said, they want link come to the industrial zone Akuya. They don't think of the traffic where the passenger level nada route today. Because I don't know if they don't do the study, they do the background study before ever then they decide to undertake that. Because you get to think about the passenger level, whether that place will get more passenger, then go profit. Because this is about profit, now profit making. This is not of government where you go send a social service. The main concern now about the end cost, waiting the passenger then get for the pay. Because I just want to give is I want to suppose that which we all get at this DMV, Maryland, Virginia, and DC, where the Washington Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, when a semi-autonomous body, we are in the three jurisdictions, the Maryland, Virginia, and DC, then get a subvention when they give. So that is then they support the WMATA yearly. So then they all two they sit down and determine the price. So that the reason that make now more of a social service, even though na semi-autonomous body they run them, but now more of social service the WMATA they provide rather than profit. Now make you find out say waiting with the pay, now the train, now the subway, high, too high. They make them boundaries for everybody be able for access, be able for pay. So I don't know if that's something like that government want to do, or because if government left and solely, my own concern, if government left and solely in the hands of Arise na profit making, then charge people and where people and go refuse for take the train, where we go refuse to say train don't come for can salvage the transportation problem. People then they prefer for both they take the transportation. Then the question I go ask, the reasons for the Sierra Leone Railway enclosure in 1974, was it due to maladministration, mismanagement, and corruption, as Shaka Stevie allude to? But the reason that made the railway may close in 1974, I just want to get to your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll go answer that, but let we go to another caller. Hello, caller. Which know your name? Where you call from?
Yeah, Hello, viewers. This is Omar recall from Switzerland.
Hi, Omar. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, we're glad in a very good news. Now a very good development. This development, at least if we don't overdo, because if we check the amount of money where government we don't take, where government don't trust for make roads and a salon, the amount of buses where government don't buy. If we check up to date, at least if now one track, before they will get away a run go, at least Kabbalah up to that Krubola end, if we don't get track where they go from a Mbu Kenema connect Kono at the same time. So this if we don't overdo. But what they say is that it don't happen, and we know say development are small. What we see first now go for all with to earn, just like what Mr. Mengo they say. Then from there we know how we go expand them. But one thing where we all they say, when we can in terms of development, we take our left and give people away the extract we natural mineral, people away the exploit we lands. We feel say that the number of our development, it will be a problem. Sierra Leone is not a poor country. Sorry, technically I go say so. Sierra Leone is not a poor country. All say Sierra Leone poor, but when you watch, you say the Sierra Leone, the particular land situated, in not poor. What the officer we for do, government for in belt, Sierra Leoneans self for as recept and ready for pay taxes for make development. But law we not left with development na mining companies the hand. Then go they rob Peter for pay Paul. And now that's the happen. And here, what are they telling for instance, we say me then if I want to take train the road of the year, I they pay $3,200. Where are they pay where they call for gear annual? So Sierra Leoneans we want travel from Kenema to Freetown, no they worker, they go for pay. So let them make a system, let people and pay, then generate income, and then make so they expand them. Let them not left in the masses of the miners them, and let them left in the masses of foreign companies. Let them find way out for sustainer, because at least what I understand is partly owned by a government initiative. Let them find way out in expander and how they makes us everybody go benefit from it. But let Sierra Leoneans self-ready for pay for the service. And it's also high time, Mr. Mengot, this will tax all the piece. High time Sierra Leoneans consider again with taxes. Expect a full-grown human being the day, the whole of the year, and only 5,000 loans tax they pay. Can you imagine? So we get for look all then and then I would call development. Then people are do magic now. All the European, all the developed countries not get magic. Now waiting people they pay and then they use at least for get their own social amenities. We've already for pay taxes and the government not for left with development, we train, or tram any type of development and of miners. Because who say you feel say them people when they go by that train, or who say if you say they go for camp pull money. Now from the extract and the extract to natural resources. But if we don't able pay for we own taxes, we don't able increase taxes accordingly to the people standard in the country, we increase taxes and we make sure say most of them services there we able afford them for ourselves. You go find. Now we left this manjalaji business. We poor. No Sierra Leone now go tell me say he go tire for at least annual tax of 500,000 or 50,000 loans inside the whole year rather than 5,000 loans. And we left for development and we talk how they expand the development. We left everything at miners there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Umar, for calling. Let me take another call. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where side you call from? Let me take another call. Hello. No, raise your volume. Not hear you much. Maybe
yes, Nami again. Good.
Okay, sir.
For the Mustafa. I just want to make a follow up because I want to make una open the map of Sierra Leone. That people not even did near Songo. Maybe it's about up to 100 miles, 50 to 100 miles na Songo. So between Songo and this the project not for that industrial, unless if they expand them. But waiting don't they on paper now for the existing rail, not to any other thing. So now make if you now open them, then just call districts them, make people and feel say, oh, they pass through that rail not pass near Makini. No, it pass only Magorka, and then the only town there in Lunsar that then be the town the outside that rail they pass. Because the railway be done day before, now they been pass. That means it's a way them them they do business day, like the way the rail been day and also the way the co been day. Now Lunsar the thing pass. So the rail back where they come, they pass through Magorka, and not they pass through McKinney, but they pass through part of Bombali. Now, just small part of Bombali, now they pass, it goes straight. So I wonder will get done there, unless if they want to expand the project, which of course, they not talk about that. They say they out the wagon right now. Because the main problem now for they think about now, then they build station them because they get for build passenger station them.
Mhm.
You don't hear about that so far? No. You see, development like where Umar just talk, Mr. Umar don't talk and so just know. Where you see left and give them people, when I go check Arise the history. Arise then all African countries they will go exploit because the government they within at side and they don't want to invest. Then they wait for somebody for can invest and then they say, oh, don't count investors. Now they Arise step in. So Arise the Togo. I think they are now one part again at Central Africa. Then they didn't care some of journalists they follow and go see how Arise. Then just the manufacture, if not close, like instead of them produce in America, then say beat the chance for let them go produce in a salon, they pay people at a cheaper rate, then go sell. Now people always just kind for exploit. The country, the only way if they want for make government for put reduce this expenditure, where then they continue for expand. Use that money they invest on rail. Everybody don't talk now two things them will develop that country. If we invest on rail and electricity, salon they go before. Not to say they talk na social media, that means say we they against development. No. But now development way meaningful. If you go take people like how they say it can go on rail, a distance of maybe 150 miles, pass through some side, go propel. What in they propel? The other caller talk about Guinea. No, you know the Guinea. You pass Guinea and say if they want to use port of Pepel, then they can pass something for Ghana Pepel. Pepel it is far from Guinea. Pepel Pepel go just end at Atlantic na so not far from Port Loco town. So now the project. Now the project. So we go one area if the people the way they come, if we government because now make good on social media like we when they talk show, let government theory, make government do something. There is no real way the talk say one can make for economic activity and revive in the country. We're not going for do with free tour. Everybody in a free tour they go. The people they all they take them goods they one can go na free tour. So if you know if the goods they not go free tour, na pepel and they go. So it means when they go pepel and go take motoka again for go free tour.
Correct.
You see the thing? So I mean, my own point now. This not get any way they not even check like when Mr. Mengo talk show. They not check the passenger traffic now. They not check ahead. Like Mr. Omar talk about tax. When they say tax, not to forgo tax mortal man. 5,000, not for tax person itself for 5,000. Why for go tax? Tax now for tax person in job. Now they call tax. Not tax somebody. Why for tax somebody na slave? Anyway, now left for this week. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, let me just comment again. I can always I'll do a quick comment on that. I think the gentleman from Maryland, Abdul, they talk about. I think I mentioned the extension to Guinea. Of course, when he mentioned that, the thing we kind of in mind was even if not the intention, and my question would be why to Guinea at this time? Not that the idea is a bad idea, but you get for take care of your own country or within your country first. Then before you begin talk about connection with outside enterprises for improved life or conditions. So I am not impressed if then they talk about anything about going beyond the borders of Sierra Leone at this point in time. Let us see what we can get in our own country and how operable, how efficiently operable whatever we can get in our country can be. So then we will move forward. The other thing about the train business, because we don't see one or two people in same comments, yeah, it's a little bit disappointing because sometimes when we come up with ideas, there are certain people who rarely see everything. Maybe it's a new form. Maybe we just need for indoctrinate people at this point in time. For say, being critical or being analytical about a proposal or proposition does not necessarily mean you are negatively criticizing the government in the sense that we some of us feel. If these issues are not raised by some of us, we say with the talk to the public. If we not raise the issue here for bringing back to the consciousness of people, then we'll get for see with situation. Now, what would they talk about? Okay, now there's no question in my mind. Like what Mr. Fode Mustafa say, we need to go back and check the history of some of them companies here. And like Abdul say, obviously, Arise na a for-profit company. When they can, another kind for give social benefits to the country, then see an opportunity. Now, we young government for look out for we, meaning the locals, that we are able to extract from them companies here appropriate taxation and as well as then commitment to developing the area, because whether on a train or whether on a road or where they operate, then get environmental impact on the area. So all of them things they will get for take into account if they get trained. The other thing we I can almost guess will be now it will be a substandard kind of coaches that we then go use for people because this is how we see ourselves. We Africans, we don't see ourselves as people deserving. And I will talk about the authorities then. And this is no criticism of the current government because it's across the board, the previous ones then. We not think say we for provide quality, we for provide luxury for people. We always see ourselves as Africans. It reminded me many years ago when I tried for ship a vehicle to Sierra Leone and I get one African guy. He was not from Sierra Leone, but I don't want him the country. Let no think say I they unnecessarily malign the country. So he fixed the car. The car was improperly fixed, and I say, "Hey, look, you know I want to ship this car abroad. Look at the quality of work what you do." And the guy said to me, "Well, Mr. Shillon, now Africa you send this thing. So why does it matter so much that everything look spink and span?" I say, "Oh, really? So now so you think about we? You expect a white man for respect we? Where we think about we self say anything substandard is what we're deserving of." I say, "So well, the now they make we know they get the respect what we deserve." So he get upset with me. Because he say, "Well, Africa you send the cargo, why are you so concerned about quality?" So we see the same thing. Then coaches here when they say this Arise go bring calm for people and for be transported in. I can tell you, and I remember under a particular government where 100 buses were bought in China. Whoever hears about buses being for commercial buses being bought in China, China then great and they make a lot of things, but buses will go by 100, then in no time the buses broke down. Sierra Leone way hot so, it not even occur to we. Now with subconscious mind that we forgive people a little bit of quality and comfort. What's wrong if we get air conditioned buses? But we think say that's unthinkable. Oh, in Africa, No, not only which man and European them and then other people and deserving of that. We African, give them what they call it, park them in a capacity of 60, put 100 of them inside the bus. You know, let them sit down on top of themselves. Where you go to other country, buses then get bathrooms, they know they overload. This is how we treat ourselves. So I can guarantee you, this arise, then coach here than they bring. Because when maybe they ride the train in my youthful days, I saw what the train looked like compared to other countries, and we will look back in time and see. Then we get first class, we get second class, and then we get the regular class, one and third class. And so the passenger train then from Freetown to Pendemu, they were, we get first, second, and third class. I mean, first class maybe was very, in those days, was luxurious, spacious, not crowded. Second class was a little bit better, but the third class was overcrowded. And, but those were the days. So we don't see that. Like me with the talk show. Why is it that if I'm in government, I have to go negotiate train, I have to make the quality of what me be experienced when I was a youth? These are the things we talk about. So even if Arise is coming, we get to look about, get to people them quality stuff. You know, if we don't respect ourselves, why are we demanding so much about the which people and for respect? We have to treat ourselves as if we're not deserving of any quality of life. So let me just move back to Mr. Mengot. I'll pass it over to you. There is one somebody sent another comment. A plan without any structural plan in place, does it not mean it's a delusion or delusional? How would you celebrate on something not realistic? Well, I don't know what this person is talking about. It's not unrealistic for we forget a railroad. Somebody even talk about low focus on developing with roads and forget about the railroad. We categorize as a thing of the past. So obviously people don't get it. People don't understand. If you go categorize a railroad as something of the past, indeed, for a country as something of the past. But every major industrial country, every country in the world get railroad because railroads are vital to the economy of every country. Even communist countries, where most of them not engage, except China, where China is quasi-communist, they get railroads. So I don't understand if people grasp the significance of railroad. So it's not either or. It's not developing the roads, and forget about the rail. They have, both of them have to be done because they are important to the well-being of a country. And another thing about we on railroad from east to west, also from west to east, as a matter of fact, now the railroad be the transport, the mail. So then you write letter. The last coach gets a dedicated coach that was just for the mailman. There was a mailman all the time on the railroad, get a whole coach, and they get maybe one or two other people in which where then they process the letters them. As the train stopped, then hand the bag to the station master for the post office, and then Townsend Day. So people were able to send mail them back and forth. That's said. Let me pass it over to Mr. Mengot.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Shillon. And also, I want to tell all we people the way they comment, thank you. First of all, the first thing I want to do, we get our regular contributor from Maryland, where we ask why they may close the railway and some of the arguments for and against. If we remember, even before the railway was closed in 1974, we been on the think for expand road transport. Now that makes so, in 1964, we passed an act in Parliament for set up the Sierra Leone Road Transport Corporation. That was even before the railway been closed. That was 1964, 10 years before we closed the railway. Now that 10 years we get the act which creates the Sierra Leone Road Transport Corporation. And that corporation they then create, it was to provide a responsibility for the Road Transport Corporation. One, now for provide commercial road transport services, both now within the western region and for go upline or internal or intercity service. Then they were also the regulator for road transport and also the major agency for advice government on transport in terms of. So already there was this thinking that road is better than rail, because that was in 1964. Then create Sierra Leone Road Transport Corporation. Now, when it comes to the economic or social viability of the rail, remember I've been on talk say the gauge first of all have been smaller gauge when I've been 2'6". Now, if you talk about standard gauge for railway all over the world, now 4'6". So when you look and say the gauge we've been get a current railway gauge is twice the gauge we've been get. Why they talk about the gauge now, the distance between the two lines, the way the rails and they run. Yeah? Then secondly, we talk about the source of energy. Then train they know been get, as I've been saying, not to diesel train themselves. They were powered by coal, charcoal. Now that thing you been get fireman. In fact, now they all train. In fact, in England, I make sure we still get one union, what they call Association of Locomotive Engineers and Fire. So even in England, when they start train, they were coal powered before they moved to diesel. Before now, now electric. So at the time, the train they will be getting a coal powered train. So you get for import the coal, we make it cost a lot of money. And for upgrade the train, them one will be get for upgrade the track, yeah, to standard gauge, right? Even 3'6", because the rail track moved from 2'6" will be get to 3'6" now 4'6". So you get for upgrade the track. Where there need a lot of infrastructure development. Then you get for think about having new coaches. Look at the motive power, where sometimes you get for go for diesel now instead of coal. So the people that will be going to lend money to with development partners then. Now then bring consultants. I remember the consultant were Ital consultants, we say actually we cannot invest in such an infrastructure given the volume of traffic we go attract in terms of demand and revenue. That was why the rail was closed. But we already think about road transport expansion before we even think of closing the railway. Now, let's look at this Kingo deal where people let me not talk about. Now look at the rail system now. Government, now I mean take a loan. They may take a loan from Chinese Exim Bank for 1.2 billion, where we don't pay for their assets then they over 20 years. So in 2020, both the rail line, the rail for that, where they come up from that Tonkolili for the iron ore, which Kingo they use and the port, where they develop, don't become government assets. Now, one of the problems is, now, how much will they charge their mining company here for use government assets? When we negotiate them deal here, we know they get enough money. So if we remove that asset from the list we give Kingo to Arise, what we should be asking, what is Arise investing? So far from what you tell with the only thing what they say they go bring camp now coach. They not expand the train line. They not talk about like what you talk for extend the infrastructure. Then just so go bring
for build stations. For build stations.
They not talk about build stations. So there are more questions than answers. So again, I support what you been say. We do this analysis, let people understand. We know they do it for criticize government, but then get something what they call constructive criticism. We want to let government think. Now make sure them forum here, we open and to people them for phoning. But also, you'll be surprised that if you go now with Facebook page, the number of comments the way people and they make, where I wish with government and can they look at the views of ordinary people on then development here and engage people and also they plead say when they go do their agreement here. The plan, somebody talk about structural plan. The plan, the analysis, even things to do like environmental impact assessment, and all them document and they when they submit them to Parliament, for God's sake, let people then get access to that. So I think say we don't almost reach the term, and as we controller say is broadcasting from Canada today a special holiday, I think say we'll get 5 more minutes for finish the program, and so far we'll not get any caller. So I will let you give you last word on this issue. Then me go give me closing remarks, and then we'll go finish the whole program. So over to you, sir.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Well, there's one caller. Let me take that caller. Hello, caller. What are your name? Inside the call from? Hello, caller.
Yeah, Mr. Mengos, now Abdul.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to make an addendum to it on the talk. Like I rightly still call earlier, my own concern now let arise no can exploit people as I know it be like now I'm not saying a profit making then they want run and for, but let it not be at the expense of the ordinary people because thinking about the poverty rate in the country, we get more people and they live below the poverty line in the country. So you get to think about that when you fix price for them type of thing and they, as I rightly say, this also social provision, lot of social provision the arise will do. These are profits they will make. So government get to come out, let them tell we waiting the waiting at the documents where they sign with arise. Waiting will be get forbidden your input. Are they going to subsidize for the citizenry, or are they just going to leave it as somebody they ride in taxi, where it go just put in price and make like the people, the ordinary citizen pay for whatever the person they offer. So let government become clear. And I want just to admonish those who are criticizing you that critiquing something not mean to say that it's government. We all want to make like Sierra Leone like decide who will leave. But by the same token, it's right fine for them we do something right. Government will get all these things. Then can appoint whoever they want to appoint now all them position and they. But some of we when are ordinary people we they see things where they do when are wrong things where we go put them at the right track. So because the line they don't make them for a public track for passengers then. Then go do an app, start for Pepele for stop side for stop. So they forget to think about that. And we as people are able to read and write, like when they tell we say education is useless if you just swallow waiting and teach you without questioning the value and relevance to your life and community. We not just take hook, line, and think waiting government tell we. We get for question them and critique them whether waiting them go sign and with arise, whether not thing we go benefit the ordinary person. Because we don't want the rail transport start, then people don't know the benefit from them. People don't know the ride them. It go just the ride no more with empty without passengers them on board. Because there's a profit they want to make. But let government tell we. Because if they can't put price where people are not able to afford, because they want board am for go school, then maybe for board am, then it's useless. So I just say for that, call for that, just make this small submission. Now, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Abdul. Along that line, there, I just want to add one other thing we for take into account. As Mr. Fode Mustafa say, if the intention now for enable the people then we get agricultural products or get products of any kind for transport from point A, from Tonkolili, from Putloko, it seems it defies logic that na prepare then go the roads or the railroad for lead if they want to do passenger transportation. Because what is in Pepel that will require such a demand for people and for transport goods? So it looks like primarily this is a way for just transport the mining company, the employees them from Chonkolili to the port, the terminal port where this thing go reach for let the export them the goods that they talk about the iron ore to overseas. And other than that, what is in Pepel, other than that, where passenger train could be necessary. If indeed the reality is now goods and services, particularly goods that want to let people in transport, everything will be leading to the western area, to Freetown, not Pepel, where the buying power is so much more and the demand is so much higher. That's where railroads should be leading to or coming from, not necessarily Pepel. So we have not seen any studies we will show say, and because we combine both Abdul in calling and Mr. Mustafa for say this is a for-profit company. Arise is not coming there for give we social services for free or with people them for free, and let people then realize we're in America. We're not going to ever ride that train there or see them. Now, out of the interest of the people, and we poor people, them, we make we sit on here and we comfort zone. They imagine the hardship we don't go through. So people who want to criticize and then get this idea about to criticize government. Well, I mean, if you don't criticize government and try to make government no say, then they deal with intelligent people of their own citizenry, and that they just can't run anything by them and feel say they will not be questioned. If people in feel say that the best way down there for do, then we'll not for complain. Where life is so hard. Okay. Otherwise, now if this is not a profit making company, it's clear. They're going to put fare. I mean, at the talk about FARE, then go put the amount of money and go charge people them, the individuals them. We'll go make them make profit. Now, even if Arise they pay the government rent for using the track, well, if the government they turn around even subsidize the transporting of people, that could be another thing. Then so Arise give with one hand, then take back with another hand. So a lot of thought or thinking has to go into this whole process. So not all the time when people and just appear in our corridor and say, hey, we want to invest in a country. I know say on the other side there is an advantage. Okay, because when you invest with foreigner, there is so much secrecy, a handful of people profit. Local, Australians them. We know that goes on. But we always have to wonder if whatever agreement then they go into is in the best interest of the country. So now that I want to talk about, I just want to combine Mr. Fode Mustafa in your comment and Abdul in comment, and then foresee for highlight them points, then they let we know say we'll get for take things a little seriously. Back to you, Mr. Mengot.
Well, Mulem, we tell you thank you for listening to we. I don't get much for say now. The only thing I get for say, just for respond to waiting people and they say, again, that tax where somebody they talk about individual tax, that tax in a local tax will be known as a loan per head. Then in a local government they go to, not to central government. Now tax for local government is different from other taxes. And there's also the issue of if you want to get tax more from people, you get to provide work for them and business opportunity. Because if somebody know they work, I the tax them. If somebody not get money for invest or run business, I the tax them. But just for roundup, transportation, now all country them, they know they look at one mode. You know they say A is better than B. For them people will say, Lord, not look at railway, Lord, look at roads. Me as a transport person, what I go advise government for do? Let them bring Master Sabi people them. I know say the Ministry of Transport say them, you don't get a national transport plan. We get for look at transport system we involve road, rail, and coastal transport. So this na me last submission. I wish other people them well. I think say we dey get indication say we get one more call. I don't know if we're able to take that call day.
Well,
But I think say before we take that call day, all I will say, I know they come back, but we're ready for work with the government. Lord, look at what we call integrated and intermodal transport system. That is, we get for look at rail, road, and sail. Even if you talk about pepper, if you bring goods can of pepper, na the port. If you want to bring fruits and pass, you use pampa, you get for use coastal transport. So we get for look at how they link with coastal transport to road, to rail, and make sure say we look at what in economics then call comparative advantage. So now me last take this, we'll come up with other transport topic. I go hand over to you. You go take one more call, and also the final word. I wish everybody a pleasant and fruitful and safe week. So that's the last for me. In Atata.
Thank you, sir.
Over
Thank
to you,
you,
sir.
Mr. Mengo. Okay, yes. Hello, caller. What's your name and which side you call from?
Yeah, Minella, I dey call from US. I just want to thank Una for this brilliant discussion. Yeah, me own question or me own concern. This rail system na a very good idea, but the concern where I get looking at the topography, especially inside Freetown. So I just want to know whether this rail system therefore be limited to the mining area or in the can therefore come up to the western area. Like with Mr. Mengot, Mr. Shilondo highlight, because you therefore consider again, the people and the purchasing power, which also again very, very, very important. Yeah, because at least we want for me with farmers there could be benefits. So one of the benefits, at least if they can able to get them produce their product from the province and bring downtown, at least then they go able to facilitate, businesses them for both the one they within the urban area and the one they get within the rural area. So now that I'm concerned looking at, the environment, Freetown, because some of we, or me in particular, are born at that country, I not me that train, they like how be the same. So I don't know how far then train and they go. If now some way go either be limited na the mining area or na way go even can down like Freetown. So that I'm concerned. I thank you now.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, what in the current government they propose with this company called Arise, it will be limited to the mining area, but not only the mining area. We'll talk about the mining, the iron ore mining area. So from Chonkolili district to Putloko district, all the way to the port of Pepel. So then just say, but now track will exist for quite a while, not a new railroad then they bring. But now you get some people, a foreign company will see an opportunity. I will not fault them for make money, for profit, so they can propose, apparently come up with the idea that they want for turn that also in addition to the iron ore, what they would transport, from Chonkolili to Putloko to the port of Pepel, make they also allow them, this company said they allow them for turn that same track, rail distance there, for transport people, them passengers. So all we say is we just want to see what's in the plan in terms of proposed fare, the fee where they go pay, what people them will charge, knowing the dire situation of people them, how poor them be, and the need, the economic need or the social need for even turn that track day, that distance day to a passenger line, and but not for the whole country. The other aspect of what we talked to you about was from Freetown, the other railroad, what we say, meet, then they be the left Water Street, Freetown, which is called Wallace Johnson Street now in Freetown. That's where the train will start around 5:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning and go all the way across the country, Moyamba District, Bo District, Kenema District, all the way ending of Kalang District at the town called Pendembu, which was about 240 or 250 miles from Freetown. So that be the pickup, that be the bring produce them from all the districts that they were just named, from the towns then people can come, sell them to people who to buy them for ship them or export them to Freetown. So that railroad day now meet, but I need to decide with economic interest. But this is one what we talk about now. What then they say they want put now for the north and not for the entire north, like Mr. Mustafa said. Even where the track go through Bombali district, not through any major township, So not to so then with the try for see how you go serve the people, or it will serve this company we then call Arise more so than the rest of it. So, but if we fail for explain everything in detail this time, please save on a question for next time. We're always willing for revisit all topics. Save your question next time when we come next week. We're not mind for discuss that, even if that is the subject matter where we say we want to talk about. So until then, we will rather stop at this point, and hopefully we will pick up next week, same time. And thank you all for listening as always. And we hope we go see each other or hear each other the upcoming Sunday. Thank you.